The big goalie signing in Nashville was a Juuse Saros extension, but let's not overlook Scott Wedgewood coming to town. What do these moves mean for the Predators and Yaroslav Askarov in net? We're going to tell you on today's Locked On Predators podcast.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast, and thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this hallelujah. We made it to Friday episode with a shout out to our Locked On Pred heads, our everyday listeners who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. We appreciate your support, and we love that we get to spend a little bit of your day with you. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer with Penalty Box Radio. And my friends, I have a partner in crime.
Yes, you do. I'm Emma Lingen, and I'm the Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
So all this week, we have been talking about the big news in Nashville. Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, Brady Skjei. But let's not overlook the other free agent signing, Scott Wedgewood. That's right, Barry Trotz signed the goaltender to a 2-year deal. We're going to talk today about what this means for the Nashville Predators' future in net, along with that Juuse Saros extension as well. But before we dive into all that, want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right, Emma, so many things to talk about this week. It's been a big old week for the Nashville Predators. You know, some big signings, of course, that Juuse Saros giant extension. But what seems to have maybe gotten lost is that the Predators signed another backup goaltender. We're going to start crossing ourselves because that means Kevin Lankinen is not coming back. And, you know, this is Locked On Kevin Lankinen, you know, when we're allowed to be that podcast. But the Predators brought in Scott Wedgewood. And you have told me you like this signing.
Well, I do, but back to your original point, I will always be locked on Kevin Lankinen. My heart is locked on Kevin Lankinen.
Kevin Lankinen.
And
such a great man.
I do really like, and I said this, I think I tweeted this on Monday, but I meant it. If the Preds have to go with anyone other than Kevin Lankinen as their backup, I think Scott Wedgewood is a fantastic choice. I think that I'll be totally honest with you, I wasn't even looking that closely at the backup goalie market. I didn't realize he was going to be available. And so I'm glad that they got him because, you know, talking about Kevin Lankinen, obviously you weren't going to get him for less than $2 million a year in Nashville, right? And nor should you. I mean, he's earned a raise and he's earned more opportunity. So I hope he gets that wherever he does end up. And I just think that with Wedgewood, you get him at a good price for $1.5 million a year. You get him for 2 years. And because to him, he's I think 31 years old. He's got a wife, yes, a family. He wants some more stability. He spent a lot of his career bouncing back and forth. And so that 2 years may not sound like much, but that's some good stability for him. And I think, you know, looking at the thing about Lankinen, the thing we loved about Lankinen was that you felt comfortable with him out there in any situation.
Absolutely.
Yes. It didn't feel like a backup. It felt like you had 2 starters. And that's honestly, I feel very similarly about Scott Wedgewood. When he was in Dallas last year, he spent almost a month as their starter because Jake Ottinger missed about a month with that groin injury earlier in the season. Wedgewood comes in as the backup. I think he went 6-3-2 or over that stretch. So very respectable. Yeah. Obviously Dallas, very competitive team, top team in the Western Conference last year. And then when Ottinger was healthy, they had a really good cadence. I think it was, every 4 starts or so, Wedgewood would come in and start. Now, I've been saying this. I would love to see Juuse Saros get some more time off, just purely because I think that the Predators have gotten very lucky with how healthy he's been, with how
Yes.
much they use him.
Yes.
So if you can implement some kind of rotational system like that, maybe give Wedgewood a few more starts, give Juice some time off. I don't think that would be a bad thing. But even if you don't, he is a backup who plays like a starter. And he's a guy that I've liked him ever since he was in New Jersey. I've always been a big Scott Wedgewood fan. I will be honest, over at the Hockey News,
Mm-hmm.
before the playoffs started, we did kind of a poll of all the writers. It's like, who do you think is going to win each of these awards? But then it's like, who's going to be who's going to score the winning goal of the Stanley Cup, or who's going to do all these things? And then one of the questions was like, who's going to be the under the radar guy who comes in and is like the star of the playoffs? At the time, I had Dallas winning the Stanley Cup. I was obviously wrong about that. But I said Scott Wedgewood. I thought Scott Wedgewood was going to be like the unlikely hero. Not that I wished anything bad to happen to Ottinger or thought anything bad would happen, but I was like, he's the kind of guy that I could see him coming in and like really making, that would be the big storyline of like, wow, backup goaltender steals a series for Dallas. Like, I don't know. He has that kind of ability to me. And so that's why, I'm very confident about this pick.
I love what you're saying about being able to use him more rotationally with Juuse Saros. And we've talked about before, like Juuse Saros I always say he's a crock pot, not a microwave. He needs a little bit of time to heat up. But he also tends to be better with consistency. However, you just signed Juuse Saros to an 8-year deal. And what that means is that you believe that Juuse Saros is your best goaltender in net for a soon window and a little bit later window as well. And if you want to get the most out of Juuse Saros in this deal, you may want to start rotating him more. Now, do I wish we had seen a little bit more maybe of Kevin Lankinen last season? Yes. But are we getting to a time? Oh, girl, I could cry. I really could cry over Kevin Lankinen. I won't, because that would be awkward. But I'm just saying I adore him. But are we getting to a time where the goaltending coaches and Andrew Brunette are going to say, let's maybe have less wear and tear on Juuse Saros, especially because we've got this guy who's used to playing in a role where I'm going to come in, I'm going to pop in every 4 or 5 games, every week and a half, and come in and play games. And I think if you have somebody used to that schedule, like you do in Wedgewood, and you are committed to Juuse Saros for 2 different windows for the Nashville Predators, this is a good situation to have. Now, signing Scott Wedgewood pours gasoline on the fire of, well, what does this mean for Yaroslav Askarov? What does this mean? Because I think when you signed Juuse Saros and you knew that the Predators weren't going to re-sign Kevin Lankinen, that it was obviously going to be Saros, Askarov in the NHL. They were going to be in Nashville. That is not what Barry Trotz is envisioning. However, Barry Trotz is very clear to say, let's see what's coming up in training camp. This is what Trotz had to say on Monday at media availability, talking about the signing of Scotty Wedgewood as well, who I feel like I need to preface this clip by saying goes by the nickname Wedgie. Context is everything with this.
Sure does. Sure does.
Not with me, you don't. This is what Barry Trotz had to say.
And if Askarov and Wedgie, if we go to camp and Askarov blows our socks off and is ready, then we'll talk to Scott. If Scott beats out Askey, then then Askey goes down. Or I know I'm going to get a lot of calls. So. On Askey, because we got Saros signed. So My phone will be ringing. It has. What are you doing with Askarov? We don't have to do anything. He's a Nashville Predator. We're going to work with him, Mitch Korn, his agency, and do what's the best thing for him.
One of the things too that Barry Trotz said on Monday, and I should have clipped this and I didn't, forgive me, is he also was talking about, I have communicated with Yaroslav Askarov, with his agent, and talked about, we have a plan in place. So for everybody who is concerned that Yaroslav Askarov is out of the loop, he's not out of the loop. Doesn't mean he likes the loop he's in. I think Yaroslav Askarov would love to get the start in Nashville. Don't think that he is ready. That's my personal opinion. And we've talked about this before. Better to marinate. You cannot over marinate a goaltender. And I think there are definitely some aspects of Yaroslav Askarov's game that need to be more NHL ready. Mentally, I think physically, I think in net. But he mentioned Mitch Korn. And if you are Yaroslav Askarov, you may be feeling impatient for your chance, but you also have to remember you are developing in a system with Mitch Korn, Ben Vanderklok, Pekka Rinne. You've got a franchise that develops world-class goaltending. Sometimes they end up with a statue and a Vezina. So I think hopefully he can keep the long game in mind as well. But I don't think the goaltending situation is as murky and imminently destructive, maybe as some of the fan base may feel like it is.
Yeah, that is one of the most tiresome and frustrating narratives for me, are people like, oh, you got to trade Askarov now. No, you don't. These are the same people who are saying, oh, you have to trade Juuse Saros. No, you don't.
You don't.
Like, it's, again, I understand the basis of the argument, which is that you trade him while his value is still high. But wouldn't giving him another year, like, to develop, wouldn't that make his value higher? Like, maybe this time he won't lose his starter's net in the playoffs, and then his value will be even higher. And I think, again, I hear too about people like, well, Askarov's probably not happy about that. He's probably not happy that they signed Scott Wedgewood. Frankly, I love Asky. I don't care if he's happy. It doesn't matter if he's happy. A lot of us are like, have to do things at our jobs that don't make us happy. And you know what? That's not the number one priority. And I think that they are doing the best thing by the player here and being like, hey, you're not ready. Mm-hmm. You may think you are.
Yeah.
And in some ways you are. Like, there are certain parts of his game that are ready, I think.
Agreed.
For the NHL. But it's a whole package. And the whole package is not ready. He is not fully cooked yet. He is not fully marinated yet. And sometimes it just takes, a few more minutes in the oven there. I don't know. I'm mixing like 4 different metaphors. But I think, the point is, he may not be happy, but to that I say, tough it up, Buttercup. Like that.
Yeah.
That's being a pro. That's developing. Like, it's not always going to be easy for you.
As we say in our family, feelings are like farts. They are indicators of something, but they may not be exactly true. And while I think Yaroslav Askarov may be feeling frustrated, A, he is going to be given a chance to compete in training camp, and B, not now doesn't mean not ever and not successful. And I think, hopefully with the communication between Trotz and his agent and the goaltending coaches and Carl Taylor and Yaroslav Askarov, hopefully he will be able to keep that perspective. Coming up, I'm going to tell you why I think it is so important that Yaroslav Askarov is not in net for the Nashville Predators this season. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you are into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's guaranteed fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. All right, Emma, I made maybe a little bit of a harsh statement, at the end of the last segment, but I do think there is a very important reason that people need to reflect on as to why it is important, so important, that the Nashville Predators re-signed Juuse Saros and brought in Scott Wedgewood. And that is this. We have been talking all week long about these incredible signings that Barry Trotz made: Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, Brady Skjei coming in here, and how this changes expectations for this franchise, opens up a lot of possibilities. It opens up potential postseason runs a little bit deeper. It moves this franchise in a direction towards contendership much, much faster. That would not have happened. Those players, I would be willing to say all three of those players would not have signed with the Nashville Predators if Juuse Saros was not your starter in net. They would not have come here.
Let them know, Ann.
I mean, excuse me while I get my soapbox out for a moment. When we have talked to these players, what they have said is, I want to compete. I want to win. You're talking to Steven Stamkos. He's done it twice. Jonathan Marchessault, he has won. He talks about the fact that winning the Stanley Cup is addictive and you want to do it again. This Nashville Predators team is not a tempting contention team. If you have a young, albeit extraordinarily talented, but young and inexperienced goaltender like Yaroslav Askarov in net. And I say that knowing he is outrageously talented, that he has a tremendous future in the NHL, but it is a not yet. And if you trade Juuse Saros, you are not the same team this Friday of free agency that you are today. It matters. And while his trade value may have been high, sometimes players are most valuable at home. And I will step down now.
Well done. No, speak your truth, Ann. And I happen to agree with that, because, we've been saying this all year, really, that until, this was before Saros was signed to the extension, and we didn't know what was going to happen. Are they going to trade him? Or are they going to extend him? What's going to happen? And it was the reason that was such a big topic of discussion was because that decision on what to do with Juuse Saros was going to be the determining factor of what this team's strategy is. Like, what are they doing? Are they rebuilding or are they trying to win? We really didn't know. Like, it was kind of a little bit of a mixed bag. And, it would have been, if they had traded Juuse Saros, that would have been okay. That's track one. We're committing to the rebuild. We're going with a Scott. We're committed to the rebuild. We're going to start it from scratch. Or if they sign Juuse Saros because he gives you the best chance to win, then that's track two that says, all right, we're trying to win. We're trying to win right now and still be competitive for the future. Again, like I said earlier this week, masterclass by Barry Trotz. You still have all of your future pieces, including Yaroslav Askarov right now. And I understand people are upset. Oh, he is a first round pick and you're wasting him. You're wasting him in the AHL. If you think he's being wasted in the AHL,
you haven't watched Milwaukee Admirals games.
No. And I think that, this is the whole like these people are not going to be satisfied no matter what, because if, let's say, the Predators had signed Juuse Saros to the extension, let Kevin Lankinen go, didn't sign Scott Wedgewood, and then you have Askarov up as your backup, then people are going to be whining about, well, why is our first round pick a backup? We wasted a first round pick on a backup. He's not a backup. He's just not there yet.
He's young.
He's young and he's unproven.
Young. Yes.
He's unproven. He's very talented. He's very skilled, but he is not an NHL goalie yet.
Yes. And the Scott Wedgewood piece, I think, is a really important part of that, because Scott Wedgewood keeps the Nashville Predators in a more win now mode than Yaroslav Askarov as a backup. Again, adore him. Ridiculously talented, future in the NHL. But Scott Wedgewood is proven. You've talked about, like, if you're going to have a quote backup, this is the guy you want.
I'm not speaking this into existence. I don't want this to happen. But if you're in, game 7 of the Western Conference Final and Juuse Saros gets hurt, sorry, I want Scott Wedgewood in there. I don't want Yaroslav Askarov in that situation. He's just not ready yet.
Yes. And Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, Ryan O'Reilly, Philip Forsberg, Roman Josi, those guys are going to do absolutely everything they can to get this team to the next level in the postseason. And a Juuse Saros, Scott Wedgewood tandem is the goaltending duo that can come and contribute in net at that high caliber level as those players do in their own roles as well. So for people who are upset about it, I understand it seems murky. I think it's less murky than what people think it is. And I do also think, don't be surprised if maybe we do see Askarov a couple of times in Nashville, perhaps. He may pop up now and again to get some more NHL experience, and great for him. I think that's, again, it's that slow roll, and there is nothing wrong with that trajectory of development. Might not be the way Askey would like it to go, and the other thing I will say is people saying, well, you're wasting a first round pick. Hey, y'all, we kept Juuse Saros and we got a first overall pick by the name of Steven Stamkos.
Which is wild to me when I read that this is the first time a number 1 overall pick has played for the Predators. That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I still am having the moments. It's Friday. This all happened on Monday. I am still having the holy crap, Steven Stamkos is a Nashville Predator moment.
Earlier this week, Nashville Locker Room, the team store, posted on Twitter that they have new jerseys for sale. It's so weird. The 91 Stamkos jersey, gold jersey, it's so weird.
Those things are going to go like hotcakes. I'm just telling you right now, if you want your Stamkos jersey, get on that, because it's going to be Bridgestone Arena full of 91 jerseys. Oh, yeah. So exciting. But yeah. So goaltending, I think, is less murky than we think it is. Everybody breathe, including Yaroslav Askarov, buddy. We love you. We're here for you. You're going to be amazing. Trust the process. That is our little bit of wisdom. Coming up, Emma and I are going to play a quick game of takes from a hat and then share just tiniest of big Friday feelings. Before we get to that, do want to let you know about a new Locked On Predators Insider program we are kicking off. It is via Subtext. Look, if you are as excited about what is going on with the Predators as we are, if you are looking forward to the upcoming season, these new prospects, and you just want to talk more Nashville Predators hockey beyond the podcast, we want to invite you to join our Insider program. You're going to get some bonus content. Some of it is, you're not going to be able to unsee it, but you're going to love it. You're going to get immediate breaking news reaction with Emma and I. We're going to be asking your thoughts on what is going on with the Predators. We're going to give you updated in-game analysis and always a chance to chat with Emma and I about all things Nashville Predators hockey. You can check out the program details by clicking on the link in our bio or the link in this video description. All right, Emma, it is Fun Friday. It's always a fun day here. Let's just not lie. We're fun on Tuesdays too, friends, but it doesn't have the alliteration. So here we are.
We're a good time anytime.
We are not too shabby, y'all. And so we have pulled out the 10-gallon foam Nashville Predators hat, the greatest piece of swag in NHL history.
Yes.
And I am reaching in and I'm going to pull out. We just have a couple questions for our Fun Friday episode. Okay. Oh, I just pulled out the juicy one right away. So we're just going to get right to it. With the additions of Stamkos, Marchessault, Skjei, and Wedgewood, what would a successful season look like to you, Emma?
You got to win at least one playoff series.
Yes.
I say 2 playoff series. I think if you make it to the conference final, that would be a very successful season. I don't know if they're quite there.
Mhm.
But yeah, you got to, I think a successful season, at least win a playoff series.
Yeah. I feel like even without the addition of those players, I feel like the fan base is like, y'all better do something beyond the first round. But when you look at these pieces, and if you can get some more out of some of the other players on the team as well, like it doesn't feel impossible, does it?
No. It
And
doesn't.
I know timing is everything in the postseason and there's injuries and this and that, but it doesn't feel impossible.
I think, I mean, even backing up before just like winning a playoff series, I think a realistic expectation with this team and the roster they have now is obviously make the playoffs, but they could get in as like a 2 seed, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that that's reasonable to expect. I don't know that they're gonna beat out Dallas or Colorado for the top of the division, but I think that they could certainly be in that conversation.
The other thing I think that would make this season successful in my mind, not necessarily talking about postseason wins, losses, is these new additions helping players like Luke Evangelista and Tommy Novak get better. All right, Emma, let's do another one. Okay, this one. I prepped Emma for this because I couldn't think if there was a word for this. If there is a word for the exercise we're going to do, somebody please put the answer in the comments to this video because I will be up all night worried about this, wondering. Okay, Brady Skjei. Friend, he has a complicated last name to spell. It is spelled Skjei, pronounced Skjei, obviously.
Naturally.
Let's create a way to remember the correct spelling of Brady Skjei.
I just
what is
remembered
it?
the term
What is it?
mnemonic device. It's a
Thank you.
mnemonic device.
Mnemonic. Oh my gosh. And it's a really hard thing to Google because if you Google
You're
the
like,
first
what's the
letter of a
thing?
word, yes.
What's
there's
the
no way to
thing with the
Google.
thing and the thing? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So Emma, we're going to do this back and forth. So you are going to kick it off by giving us a word that starts with the letter S. Preferably not a swear word. This is a family-friendly show.
Oh, all right. Well, that changes things. No, well, it's a technically 2 words, but like
We can hyphenate. And plus it's our show. We make the
I'm
rules.
gonna hyphenate silver fox. He has gray hair.
Well, I feel slightly uncomfortable, but let's just move right along.
Listen, he's my age. I'm not saying he's old, but I'm saying that he's like the salt and pepper hair. That there's another S, salt and pepper.
I don't know. I really feel like now we're locked into Silver Fox, Emma.
Okay.
Silver Fox. Shoot, I should have gone first because I have the K.
Yeah.
I'm going to hyphenate with 2 words. Killing it.
Silver fox killing it.
Killing it. All right. You've got the J.
I feel no matter what I say, it just sounds weird now that I've started with silver fox.
There's nowhere to go but up, Emma.
Juicy. I don't know.
I was wrong. There's no way to go but down.
What else do you say? Jumping.
You can make it a word and I can build off that word. But I really think we go with juicy at this point. It's out there.
I don't know. You can go with that.
All right.
Silver Fox, killing it. Just
excellent. Now you got to go with I.
Incredible.
There you go.
There you go.
So we all feel uncomfortable, but if you want to know how to spell Brady Skjei's last name, it is Silver Fox, killing it, just excellent, incredible.
Yeah, that definitely doesn't make it harder or anything.
Nope. We'll get that right. Okay. I think maybe we should stop. But I do want to wrap up our Friday episode with a big Friday feeling. And for me, Emma, I think this is the feeling across the board. And I suspect I speak for a lot of Nashville Predators fans when I say I feel very differently about the Nashville Predators team and the Nashville Predators season this Friday than I did a week ago, waiting for the draft and waiting for free agency. So for me, I am really excited, curious to see how it happens. Like, let's understand there's going to be like growing pains as we bring these guys into the lineup and into the system and all of that. But man, it is a great freaking week to be a Nashville Predators fan.
This is yours is a lot more profound than mine. Mine is the Florida Panthers Stanley Cup parade earlier this week. Friends, why are we drinking beer out of our shoes? Why are we doing that? It's disgusting. Like, it is literally the Stanley Cup. It's a cup, and you're choosing to drink out of your shoe, your dirty shoe.
I also would not drink out of the Stanley Cup because that is nothing but a cesspool. Would you really?
I mean, just
people
because
put their babies' butts in that cup.
I know, like, I'm not saying I would like savor it, but like, it's one of those things that like, it's for the experience, for the story, I would do it because there's only one Stanley Cup. There's a lot of dirty shoes. Okay. I do not feel the need to drink out of any of them. So
no. And I want to be firm and clear when I say this. I do not, nor does Emma, want to see a Nashville Predator fan drink a beer out of a boot.
Or a catfish. I know that was a thing during the playoffs. It was a viral moment. Cool. Good for her. But
I love, love the team. Wish them all the success in the world, but I will not get salmonella for anyone.
No.
Absolutely not. So let's do that. Let's walk away from this episode with some wisdom and some decision making ahead of time. And I do think in a future episode, Emma, you and I need to sit down and talk to our Stanley Cup winners and ask them if they drank out of the cup. Oh, because I'm curious. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you? Because it's so gross.
They don't care about that. They're drinking out of shoes. Do you think they care about how dirty the cup is?
But you saw one guy was eating Italian food out of that. I'm sorry. I am not drinking out of a bowl that just had Italian food in it.
Well, I'm sure they clean it.
Nah, hard pass for me. But you know what? Emma and I, we do the hard-hitting journalism, friends, so make sure you stay tuned to Locked On Predators because when we get a chance to sit down with Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault, we will get to the bottom of what they did with the Stanley Cup and did they drink out of it and did they yak afterwards from salmonella or E. coli. We're going to get to the bottom of that for you. In the meantime, though, Emma, share where people can find you and your non-E. coli related work online.
On social media at Emma_Lingen and online at the Hockey News.
And you can find me online at ANK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work at Penalty Box Radio. Of course, you can find the show on social media at LO_Predators. And of course, you can find us on your favorite audio platform, podcast platform, and on YouTube as well. So thank you all for joining us on an exciting week with the Nashville Predators. We will be back on Monday with an all new episode. And who knows if Barry Trotz is going to be busy this weekend. We're resting up. We hope you guys do the same. We'll see you on Monday.